Okay, are we ready? Are we nearly ready? I make it just past 1:45. We've been looking forward to this for a whole year, so we have to start right away because I just can't wait any longer. Thank you so much for coming. People will continue to arrive, but that's absolutely fine because we have a full programme. I'm sure you've seen everything that's laid on for the weekend, and we have to start right away because otherwise we're not going to get everything in. So, my name's Rebecca Place. I am the president at the moment of TESOL-SPAIN, and on behalf of everybody at TESOL-SPAIN, I would like to thank you for coming. But of course, there are lots more people that I need to thank. So, as you know, because we're sitting in this beautiful place, they've obviously laid on the sunshine as well, but they have laid on this amazing university, even flowers. Okay, so the UPO have given us flowers today, and I would like to pass the mic over to the deacon of the Faculty of Humanities.
That's right.
That's right. So this is Maria Losada Friend, who is going to give us a few words on behalf of the UPO. So thank you very much, Maria.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everybody. So I'm start saying hello, and dear President Rebecca Place, dear colleagues, welcome to the UPO, as we call it. On behalf of the School of Humanities, it is a real pleasure to welcome you to the University Pablo de Olavide. The celebration of this 49th annual TESOL-SPAIN at our institution is a real honor, given that this conference is now a traditional, magnificent event that proves the strong collaboration of many institutions that take care of teaching English as a foreign, second, or international language. Our School of Humanities, for those of you who don't know us, is structured around two departments: philology and translation, and geography, history, and philosophy. And they strive to prove the force and effort of the members to update continuously the latest research on their areas, and in English in many occasions, in many subjects. So within the area of English philology, there are many important research groups here based on the study of the English language and culture, as interlinguistic communication and intercultural interpreting, pragmatics, English, Spanish contrastive grammar, intercultural communication process, or research in applied linguistics. So having TESOL here in our campus these days is a great opportunity for us, for our BA and PhD students or master's students, to learn more and to find new ideas to teach in English. Among the members of the area of English philology, I would like to thank Laura Parrilla, Marta Carrillo, Raúl Escalera, and Ana Cabrera, who have been the link between the University of Pablo de Olavide and TESOL, and have helped the organizing committee with all of our resources, people, energy, to welcome you, to welcome the long list of participants and interesting papers that will be presented. And I also welcome, I haven't seen them, haven't met them yet, the three plenary speakers and the thought-provoking titles: Chris Roland and his insights into freedom and the questioning of traditional face-to-face lessons, Carolina Kutzberg-Tetzel and her application of psychological and human learning research and the use of memory in foreign language teaching, and Stefania Balotto and her exploration of the human connection in the arts of teaching. And as you all have seen in the program, there will be activities of various kinds, as I have seen it: academic and cultural activities with musical, dance, and poetry performances, professional activities with visits to sponsor stands and publishers' exhibitions, social activities with a fundraising initiative in support of the Cancers Association, and other activities, the coffee breaks, Saturday lunch, Saturday dinner, or this evening's wine reception. So thank you. Thank you for joining us here in this extraordinary city. I'm sure that some of you have been here before, to share ideas, to share experiences and inspiration in our world of English language teaching. Sevilla, it's a place that greets you warmly from the very first moment. We share the untranslatable and unmistakable word gracia, la gracia española, The spirit that you can feel walking through the streets of the old town, the broad avenues, or watching the sunset along the river. So do not miss the Torre del Oro, the breathtaking Real Alcázar of Sevilla, the majestic Seville Cathedral and its famous Giralda, or the beautiful Plaza de España. Each corner of this city tells a story of creativity, history, and connection. And those are values that we also celebrate as educators. So I hope that in Sevilla and at UPO, you will feel this year's convention theme, this wonderful warmth, color, and wonder. Teaching languages is never about grammar, methodology, or curriculum. It is about people. It is about curiosity, empathy, creativity, and the small moments of discovery that happen every day in our classrooms. So TESOL reminds us today that learning and teaching are deeply human, creative acts. And I hope this conference helps you to capture the spirit, de gracia española, of both the city and our profession. So thanks again for being here. Thank you for the work you do every day as educators. And once again, welcome to our School of Humanities, to the UPO, and to TESOL-SPAIN Convention 2026. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Maria, on behalf of the UPO. It's going to be amazing. You're not allowed to go and see any sites, of course. You have to stay here, but hey, you can say yes, que gracia, but no, sorry, you're not allowed to. So, my first thanks, obviously, to the UPO, to the volunteers. I'm sure up until a short while ago, Claire and I were wearing these lovely T-shirts that all the volunteers are wearing. There are lots and lots of volunteers from the UPO, from Sevilla, from TESOL too. Everybody will be very helpful. So if you need anything, go up to somebody who's wearing a white T-shirt with our with our poster on it, and they will help you if you need anything at all. So thanks to the volunteers. Thanks to all the speakers. Of course, we have 156 speakers. Thanks to Karen, who is our speakers coordinator. She's also one of the speakers, so you have to go and see her as well, of course. Not the Torre del Oro. Go and see Karen. Okay. And, of course, to our plenary speakers. So, as Maria said, we've got Chris waiting in the wings, we've got Carolina tomorrow, and Steffi on Sunday. So, thank you very much. They've come from all different places. Chris, all the way from down the road. Wonderful. Very good. Fantastic. He was one of the sites that we brought the site to see you. And, of course, to all our sponsors. So, if you have managed to wander around and find the two buildings where the other talks will be. We will have the plenary talks here and the keynotes here in the Paraninfo. If anybody knows what Paraninfo means, where it comes from, tell us, because we're intrigued. It seems a very strange word, but we know it, but we're wonders where it came from. So answers on a postcard, tell us where it comes from. So we will be having all the plenaries and the keynotes here in the Paraninfo, and then in Building 6 and Building 8, we have all the rest of the talks on the ground floor and on the first floor. And that's where all our sponsors will be. So do go and see them, browse their tables, talk to them. They're all on the app as well, so you can find out everything you need from them in person, and then you can continue the conversation on the app. And of course, thanks to the board of TESOL, because we're all volunteers, we all love doing this, and we're still doing it. And so, thank you to all of you who are here in the front row and back row people. It's wonderful that you're all here, and we just enjoy it. And of course, to Claire, I like this picture. So, apart from running her first marathon, a month ago? 2 weeks ago? For goodness sake. She's also organised this convention, so congratulations to Claire. Amazing. Thank you very much. She can speak in a moment now. Oh dear. Yes. It's a nice photo, isn't it? Okay. So, a couple of housekeeping things. If you haven't downloaded the app yet, get a move on, do it, okay? There's all sorts of stuff on there. Maps, playlists, chats, communities, icebreakers. You've probably, most of you probably already had a look at it and browsed it and navigated it and all those strange verbs, okay? Enjoy, keep using it throughout the weekend and beyond as well, for a little bit as well. So everything that you need is there. There aren't bits of paper anywhere because we know that that's not ecologically sound, but everything you need is on that app. So use it. Thank you very much to Ryan, who, apart from everything else, put it all together. So thank you very much, Ryan. Something that we take very seriously is parity with the numbers of speakers, gender-wise, where people come from, so that the kind of offer that we have in our timetable is as varied as possible. And something that we use as a kind of benchmark for this is that every year we're lucky enough to be awarded an EVE award, okay? And this year we've been awarded the Yellow EVE Award. Now, EVE is something that, if you've not come across it, this last year we had a project, a joint project between TESOL-SPAIN and EVE, where we were, what's the word I'm looking for? Mentoring, thank you very much. It's so small I can't see it. Thank you. We mentored 8 teachers, 8 female teachers, so that they would feel more confident in giving a talk. And we are very lucky to have 6 of those mentors, 6 of those people who took part in that project here with us this weekend. So do go along and see. Some of them are doing joint talks, and some of them are doing talks by themselves. So it's really nice as a sort of, okay, it's come to fruition, this project that we had with EVE. So that was a nice thing that's been going on this last year. Something else that we try to do every year, sometimes we don't have a grant winner for every grant, simply because we don't have people who apply for it. So if you fancy getting a grant to come next year, come tomorrow to the AGM and I'll tell you where we're going to be next year. We have 4 grants, and they are the Robin de Andrés grant, which is for infant, primary and secondary education in Spain. We have the Building Bridges grant. Again, I know what them, but they're too small and I can't see what it says. Okay, so they are people from other teaching associations, sister associations. We have the Global grant, which is for speakers from Latin America, Africa and Asia. And we also have the First Time Speaker grant, which this year we are going to change, as of now, we're going to change the name of this grant in memory of an old companion from TESOL-SPAIN, Annie MacDonald, who was the speaker coordinator for many years. And Hilary Plass is going to give us a few words about Annie.
No, I'm fine. Really, Annie's partner for 40 years, Mark, is not with us today, and I'm really speaking on his behalf. I met Annie and Mark in 1994 in Madrid, so we go back a long way. I'm not going to talk about all that, but what I am going to talk about is Annie's spirit, which I think you can see it there in the photo. Annie was somebody who always strived to include everybody. She always strived to do things the honest way, which was not always the easiest way. She always strived for what she thought was right and good and she did that in every sphere of her life, and that includes TESOL-SPAIN. She contributed a huge amount to TESOL-SPAIN. Before I go on, I will include Annie's sense of humour and her wit and her welcoming smile, which I'm sure many of you will remember. She first became involved with TESOL-SPAIN when I coordinated a conference in Madrid in 1997, and she was my speaker coordinator for that. She then went onto the board. She became convention coordinator in San Pablo Theo University in Madrid in the year 2000, and she was president of TESOL-SPAIN from 2000 to 2002. And she fulfilled many other roles, I think liaison and various other things. So she was very involved with TESOL-SPAIN for a long time. So, you know, I am absolutely delighted, and I know Mark is as well, that we will be able to remember her every year, because she was also, many first-time speakers would not have become speakers had it not been for Annie, encouraging, sharing her time, her experience, and all the support she could give so that people could become involved and become speakers for TESOL-SPAIN. So thank you very much, TESOL-SPAIN, on behalf of Mark and myself as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, a little bit of housekeeping. If you have signed up for tomorrow's dinner, not lunch, supper, the one in the evening, then please go find Tammy and get your ticket before 12 o'clock tomorrow, okay? And lastly, but of course not least, I would like to pass the microphone over to Claire, who's going to tell us a little bit about what she has organised for this weekend and the extra bits and why.
Hello everyone, just so wonderful to see you all here, thank you very much. I'd like to point you in the direction of something which is very personal to me, and I'm really hoping that over the next few days we can raise quite a bit of money. You can see a photo here, the names have got a little bit mixed up, but we have Alison Foster, who was a great ELT professional. She worked at St James's. In fact, she opened a franchise of St James's in Pilas, which is a town about half an hour from Seville. We lost Ali in 2018. And I know quite a few of you will know Ali, and possibly more people will know Carol Robertson, who was the Director of Studies at ELI in Nervion, and lived and worked in Seville for many years. Both very good friends of mine. We lost both of them to cancer. So I'd like to take the opportunity in this conference to try to raise some money for the Spanish Association Against Cancer. You can see here we have got a board in which there is a QR code, a BISM number, and you're also going to see some of these money boxes, collection boxes, throughout the conference. Now, I would like to ask you to donate when you have seen, hopefully, some of the entertainment that you will enjoy that we've got planned for you. There's going to be a little bit of flamenco this evening at the Aperitivo Andaluz. And then tomorrow at lunchtime, it's quite a long lunchtime, so from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, we've got 3 acts. We've got our Daniel Brinch, who's going to be reading some poetry about Andalusia. And also, okay, fantastic. And also Paul Singleton, who I'm sure some of you who are locally based will know. He does sort of improvised commentary and comedy, not commentary, commentary too, but comedy. And he might involve you a little bit in that. And then Mark Wills, who's also a local teacher, and he plays in a band and he's coming along. So we've got some entertainment going on, and they're all doing this in a voluntary nature in the hope that people will make a small donation to the AECC. I think there are going to be about 500 of us here. And just imagine, if everybody gave €1, that would be 500. If people would give a little bit more, we could make a lot of money. So I'm going to begin. I'm going to do the first donation. So here we are, in we go. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire. We'll be passing it around. It'll be on the door. You won't be able to get out until you've made a donation. No, not at all. Thank you very much. This is the beginning of a fantastic weekend. I hope you enjoy every single moment of it. And I think it's probably time for me to hand over to Chris. So please, we have 5 minutes and then we'll begin with the first talk. So let's go for it. They were perfect for a while, but hey, never mind. C'est la vie.
What am I doing here?
Oh, very good. Yes, I think they all are, but do you want...
Hello?
What do you prefer? Looking around or something?
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, well, I would like to stay here with you.
We'll see you again.
Yeah,
No one will
yeah,
over the
I hope I
weekend.
can come. Wonderful to meet you. And I'm here, so
Okay, yeah.
Down to go forward.
And your microphone, don't forget it out for the streaming, you need the microphone.
Magic.
Hello, how are you doing? I'm doing very, very quick introduction.
I think it was back in 2007, 8.
What we most of the guys when we said we were all together on the Tuesday.
Very welcome, sir.
You can say that, Jeffrey.
All right. Well, I'm ready when you are, mister.
And
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
that's part of my little spiel.
Okay, yeah, I understand. Not as a baby, but you can mention that if you want.
There's many bits of connections.
All right, yeah. I still, I'm aspiring to be American rifle again in the future. I took a break for children. All right, yeah, I'm good. I reckon, yeah.
I know. What are we doing here?
Did you look at all those cars in town? Other people just chilling out.
I know. Hello, everybody. Shall we get ready to start with our first plenary speaker? So my name is Jared McLaughlin. I'm on the board of TESOL-SPAIN. And when I saw that Chris was going to be the plenary, I said, can I introduce him? And why did I want to introduce him? We were just trying to work it out, 2008 in Barcelona on a teacher training course. And the one thing, we would observe each other while we were teaching, and I was just struck by the warmth that Chris had with his students. And it was just like the decana was saying, that teaching is about empathy. And I also saw that in Chris as a teacher. He had great empathy with his students. And you may not know about him, but he's a big chili collector, grower, eater, and chilies of different colours, I think. And the other thing that got me wondering is, how free can they be? And that's what we're going to find out. So I wove in a little bit the theme of the conference there, and I'll just hand you over to Chris, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Cheers. Jared was actually my Delta tutor, and a wonderful tutor he was. Hi, guys. Thank you for turning out on a lovely Friday afternoon. There is a handout. There's a 14-page monster of a handout, and it's on a QR code, so you can have it before you even leave the room. There are also some QR codes as we go through. If you've got a QR reader on your phone and you are quick, then you can scan them as we go through. If you're not bothered or you're slow, you can pick them up at the end on the handout. I won't be going back and waiting for everybody to scan every QR code, not because I'm inherently impatient, but because I'm inherently evil. So this, I believe, is the 22nd session that I've done at a TESOL-SPAIN annual conference. The first couple were in Lleida and Madrid when I'd come back from the Middle East and was sort of settling back into the scene. And you can see the titles are quite sensible there. Stuff for teens, tailoring tasks for teens. No real sign of the monster that I would go on to become. But as the talks progressed, we can see a turn towards darker imagery. Recurrent leitmotifs of skulls, machineries, ripped off artwork, almost as if I saw AI coming. And preparing the session, I could sort of discern almost a cry for help in some of the titles. Structuring the madness. Keep going. Christopher, you must be joking. And actually, even last year's ELT Wrecking Yard. And over the years, my persona has changed a little bit as well. From the introvert that used to do his talks and scuttle off home, to sort of lean and keen, prowling, ranting machine. To somebody who embraces the whole of the TESOL-SPAIN experience, especially the get-together on the Friday nights. And to the shambling figure you now see before you, which TESOL and various other associations seem to have deemed sufficiently rounded by the cruel talent of time to be trusted to do something like this. And I like this. I love the fact that it's just me now. It's like Christopher or nothing. I don't have to worry about you going to see somebody else's talk. And I feel a little bit liberated, actually. But, on the other hand, you've got a bit less freedom. And that's my sort of first question. I mean, imagine if I did do your head in. If you wanted to see everything this weekend, and yet you didn't much like me. If that is the case, I'd like to ask you for the next 55 minutes just to, take the main content of the talk, but imagine that I wasn't in it. But the question is, how much can you benefit from a talk given by somebody who really annoys you? And if we flip that question, how free can your students be to not like you? How free can they be to not laugh at your jokes? How free can they be not to have to bite their tongue as you chunder out whatever worldview it is, as if you were not an English teacher with a captive audience, how free can they be not to do what you ask them to do every time you do it? How free can they be not to do all that, but still get a decent report from you, benefit from your lessons, or pass the course? If the answer is really, really free, then my hat's off to you. Well done. You've gone beyond yourself. You've gone beyond mere compliance and defiance. If the answer is not very free at all, Chrissy boy, I'd say go back on Monday and try to settle up that account a little bit and free yourself up from it and them as well. Otherwise, when we write on a report card, Gemma is a lovely student, what are we really writing? Are we just writing that she nods in all the right places? Are we just saying that she knows how to play the game as a student? And what about Ainoa, who sits there stone-faced, poker-faced, and she's not doing any of that performative stuff, but she's still doing what we ask her to do in terms of study and work, and she's actually progressing really well. You get the point, yeah? You can say yeah if you do. Okay. All over the world at the moment, right now, in classrooms, there are teachers teaching and they think their students are listening. They're not listening. They're pretending to listen. They're doing what Peter Lilderhall says in this book is studenting, playing the part of the student. Thank you to Shane and Maria at Welcome School for that book. All over the world right now, there are teachers who think their students are practicing English, but again, they're not practicing English unless they're speaking it. And they can't start speaking it until the teacher shuts up. So my next question is, how free of your voice can your students be? And I think a good indicator of this is given to us by the answer of these questions. And secondly, the thing is, I think sometimes in classes we suppress activity. We stop our students doing anything so it feels like we're in control. Don't talk, don't move, don't think, except about what the teacher is blathering on about. That way it feels like we're in control. And over the centuries, we've used props to help us suppress activity in a class. In the UK, it was this. Until 1987 in state schools, until 2003 in some private schools. In the States, this, and in fact, I think it's still legal in 20 states. If you're curious and want to come up and play with my toys at the end, feel free to try them out on your friends. If you're here with your partner and you need to relieve some stress tonight, I can hire them out for a small fee. I will charge in the ELT tradition by the contact hour. Skill, on the other hand, is taking activity and turning it into language learning. Getting people communicating, turning dialogue, emotion, harnessing all that and turning it into language learning. Now, I think all of us will rely on suppression and skill alternately. But it's never too late to move from suppression to skill in a lesson or in your ELT trajectory. So, in order to be able to take that activity and turn it into language learning, I think there are a set of core skills we need. I call them core skills rather than basic skills because I don't think there's anything particularly simple or easy about them. But I'm going to show them to you, see what you think. So the first base position that I'm coming from is that the students can't start till we stop talking, so we need to shut up quicker, shut up longer, and do something useful while we are shut up. For all me prancing around here and obviously quite enjoying it, you might be surprised to know that in my classes, most of my tasks are aimed at getting my students to speak so that I can pull back to a supporting role and kind of disappear into my work, as it were. After that, we need to get our students talking and talking for longer, get them talking to each other and listening to each other. They need a reason to talk, they need a reason to listen. They need to know, and we need to know that something will come of it, that we're there to help them, that we've not just switched off and disappeared and doing our list for Mercadona at lunch. And also there needs to be a place for them to go if they need language while they're on task. You know, if we've shown a group of 12-year-olds a load of outfits and we're asking them what they think to that, is it fashionable or not, by putting up, I'd wear it, I wouldn't wear it, we're helping them no end. A little bit of supporting language as well. If you ask people to do something with nothing, you create stress. And we need to make sure that the language from those tasks gets picked out and fed back into the lesson. If somebody tries to say, you know, I wouldn't be seen dead in that, then obviously we want to take that, we want to share it with the rest of the class, invest it back into the class. Those, I think, are the core skills to work on if we want our students to be freer to be able to talk about themselves and express themselves. Because our students can only be as free as we are technically able. On top of that, I think there are a few extra skills we can throw in there as well. The first one is being able to incorporate learner contributions that we weren't expecting. Allowing students questions to lead the lesson, reworking that emergent language back, not just into the lesson, but systematically back into the course. Richard will be along tomorrow to tell us more about that. Managing group work in larger classes, which is a challenge, and refining our monitoring skills. That, my friends, I think, is a fairly solid core skills set. And whether your teachers are CERT or CELTA, DIP or Delta, I think if you focus on a list like that for a year or a 2-year cycle, you are allowing your teachers to be more effective, you're encouraging them to be more effective, and your students to be freer. And future teacher trainers, could I say, don't be so quick to look for your niche. This is ELT. These are the core skills. Get good at those as a teacher. Get good at them as a trainer. Bring other teachers up. And then if you want to diversify, diversify. But then quality teaching will permeate whatever you do. Whether it's storytelling through the art of medieval tapestry or whatever. Okay, chaps, I'm going to stop talking for a second and give you a chance to have a little chat to the person next to you. Don't play it safe. If you know a person to your right, you don't know a person to your left, hey, go left today. Oh, thank you very much. You're welcome. Cheers. That was a good bit. If you're not a regular, when you see me lifting a plastic chicken up into the air, it's time to finish your sentence and look back at me. Ready, steady, over to you. So, I want to show you a couple of things from my house. This is my Arabic poof. I got it in 2003, and then it spent quite a few years in storage when I went to the Middle East and was in Barcelona and in Cadiz. And then finally I got it out of storage, and I'm filling it full of old clothes and bits of screwed up paper from notebooks. And I'm going to turn it into my reading poof. And when it's actually full, I'm going to go down to Granada, buy 2 more, and turn one of my rooms into a Moroccan tea room. I used to, as Gerard mentioned, I used to hand out chilies in my sessions. This was Asaia. And then I'd sort of stand here and watch as some of your faces went red every so often. The problem is that with the summers here in Seville, my chilies often ended up, kind of heartbreaking. So my new plan is I'm going to get a cacti garden. Oh, don't worry, I won't hand them out or anything, but so that at least I'll have greenery on my patio. And I started with 3 little cacti from a wandering salesperson in the Alameda here in Seville recently, and some of you might run into him over the weekend if you're in the right place. And this is my Christmas tree that I grew with Christmas tree crystals. Don't worry, it is just Christmas tree crystals. I'm not trying to be some sort of a Yuletide Heisenberg or anything like that. Okay, now, with these 3 examples, I mean, self-disclosure, as you know, is something we can use to create greater rapport with our students. People like Carl Rogers used it as a therapeutic technique in the last century. And negotiators like Chris Voss use it with hostiles. But your students can only be free to get to know you if you let them. There's no right or wrong. I mean, it's nice as long as I don't go on about my cacti every day. But your students can only be free to ask you questions about those things if you make space for that. And they can only be free to personalise and talk about those things in reference to themselves if you adapt those questions and provide them with the questions. For example, what do you know about Morocco? Do you have a favourite place to sit and read? In this respect, their freedom, as in everything else, is contingent on your choices as a teacher. Point 2, you can only really be free to use this sort of thing in class if you're feeling confident about managing the conversation and the language that comes out of it. That goes back to the core skills I was mentioning. And point 3 is that everything happens in our classes in a state of tension. In about 2010, I took one of the early TED Talks. You remember this one by Derek Sievers? It's a short talk in which he points out that the opposite of everything we can say is also true. With his permission, I turned my class into a room full of Derek Sievers, sort of being John Malkovich style. But in the talk, he said, the opposite is always true. The same is true when we're in class. You try to do something, and the opposite of it will immediately manifest itself as true and curtail you. You try to get your students moving about. But what will happen is their reticence to move about will kick in here, and that will put a cap on what you're trying to do. Or you try to get your students moving about, space limitations might be the opposite. You try to get your students staying still. Well, then sometimes that previously limited space, it suddenly manifests itself as infinitely tempting to them. And it's their restless energies that are your limiting factor. So trying to increase freedom in your class is like anything else. It happens within a state of tension and limitations. I think the question is saying to yourself, I want to try and do this, Where's the opposite? And how much room have I got to work betwixt the 1 and the 2? When I was preparing this book, I looked at a series of codes, behaviour codes, and rationales for why students might behave. I looked at religion, I looked at God, patriotism, citizenship, respect. The problem is, all of these things have their value systems outside of the classroom. So I came up with something that was quite simple, which is a rationale based on a behaviour code, but it's based on the common aim. The common aim is, in a classroom, learning words and sentences in English. What's good behaviour? Anything that helps us do that. What's bad behaviour? Anything that gets in the way. So, for instance, why should Ivan, a 13-year-old student, why shouldn't he hide his best friend Pablo's pencil case when Pablo goes to the toilet? Because of respect for Pablo's belongings? No. Respect is a rabbit hole. In a classroom, we need to spend time effectively practicing the language. The general atmosphere of uncertainty, if you cannot count on your belongings being on where they were, and the time lost looking for them cuts into that practice. That's why we don't want Ivan to hide Pablo's pencil case. That's why he's not going to do it, and that's how we're going to explain it to him. I mean, respect when you're 13, it's a nebulous concept anyway, isn't it? He might not learn that till he's 25, 35, 50, or not ever. He might be confusing hiding Pablo's pencil case with affection. It might even be affection. But on the other hand, words, sentences, disruption, time, they're much more solid concepts for him to understand. Why don't we laugh at Clara when she gets an answer wrong? Because it's unkind? It may be unkind, but as a teacher of English, my remit is not kindness. My remit is words and sentences in English. In order to learn words and sentences, you need to ask questions to clarify. If you don't feel comfortable asking the questions, you're not going to ask them, you're not going to clarify meaning. You also need to feel comfortable enough to contribute in class. If people are going to laugh at you, you won't contribute. Therefore, we don't laugh when people get the answers wrong. It's a conduct code which comes from the shared aim of the class. And it's based logically on a hierarchy of functions. There's a bit more to it. If you want that, I can send it to you. But I do think that as we move forward and as our classes become more diverse, having a common referential that comes from within the class instead of without might be useful. Over to you guys again. And folks, when I lift that plastic chicken in the air, if your friend doesn't see it, can you just tell them, hey, the chicken of love is ascending to the heavens. It's time for us to conclude this conversation and direct our attention towards Chrissy Boy. More questions? Thanks. So, again, when I was preparing this book, I looked at a lot of little, what I call small freedoms that we might or might not grant our students. There they all are. And I put little check boxes next to them so that you can sort of work down and see what you agree with me on and what you don't. Some of them are about sort of, treating our students as people. Some of them are about sort of learner freedoms or freedom to learn. Some of them are even about the teacher-institution dynamic. If you can't get a copy of that book, either privately or through your institution, and you want that list, send me an email and I'll send you some sort of draft copy of it. But for now, I thought we could go through and have a look at a few freedoms. I'll give you my opinion. It is just my opinion, but hell's bells, I'm the geezer up here at the moment, aren't I? So, how free can they be to speak Spanish? Answer, free. Trying to get people to want to speak English by not letting them speak Spanish just seems weird. We can even use Spanish as an entry point for our English work, and I talk about that in my chapter in this wonderful book. How free can they be to move about? Quite free. The reactive in us, even when a student just stands up to go to put something in the bin, the reactive part of us sort of jumps, doesn't it? What are you doing? But there are some tweens and primary kids, they can't sit down, they just actually can't. So what we can say to them, anytime you can do any activity standing up. I worked in a call centre once and we had a bloke called Big Phil. And Big Phil, he used to stand up to take all his calls. It made him happy. But if you say to students, especially the little ones, that they have to be within arm's reach of their chair at all times, in case you shout, touch your chair, then that keeps them relatively in place. How free can they be to use AI? I'm not the man to ask. I'm a zero user. I've never opened up ChatGPT. I don't intend to. If you want my opinions on more of it, it's on all of those crazy YouTube clips. However, when it comes to writing, I don't think that's really a problem, because what we can do is we can get them to do the writing in the class, and then we send them home to personalise the responses and work with the manuscript they've already done, incorporating our corrections, rereading it, etc. It's just a case of changing the chip slightly ourselves. How free can they be not to speak? I think that's quite an interesting one. Just occasionally, if they don't feel like answering. Why not? I don't feel like giving an answer, teacher. So maybe we want to give them a little bit of slack. But, in general, if you go to an English class, you should expect to speak, shouldn't you? Let's put it another way. Imagine you were going to a karate class and you didn't do karate. Wouldn't that be stupid? That would be stupid, wouldn't it? So, Michelle's going to talk about quiet students tomorrow. So if you're interested in that, pop along to her talk. How free can they be to go to the toilet? I say very free. Let them go to the toilet whenever they want. Let's restore their personal dignity. But we say to them, they have to choose the moment. They have to choose a good moment. They have to get up without disruption, go to the loo, come back, integrate themselves, reintegrate themselves seamlessly into the class and get on. That way we put the weight of that freedom on them. People like Eric Fromm tell us that freedom weighs. It does sometimes. I've heard my students talking, es que me da cosa levantarme y salir. It's like, yeah, okay, we'll just get it right then. If you do that, what you find out is that Actually, it's not disruptive, students going to the loo. What's disruptive is you being in the middle of a class, thinking a student is going to give you a decent answer, and then them actually, oh no, can I go to the toilet? Oh, that kills everything. How free can they be to make noise? Okay, I would say quite free. But again, it's like cholesterol. I went to the doctors recently, and the doctor told me that my cholesterol is fine. Would you believe that? I thought, what do I have to do? How much more chorizo and salchichon can I fit? But I started reading the little thing, and it's like, good cholesterol is HDL, yeah, in it? And bad cholesterol is LDL. There's good noise and bad noise. Good noise in a class, it comes from a place of respect and attempt to communicate in English and stay on task. Bad noise comes from an indifference to the task, the aims of the language classroom, or indeed the teacher. And it's easy for us to allow higher levels of good noise in our own classes. But sometimes it's trickier to discern whether the noise coming from next door is good noise or bad noise. So I would say, before you get a bit judgy and think that that other teacher has a problem or their students have a problem, just have a bit of a closer listen and see what's going on there. How free can our students be to choose? I would say, surprisingly, not free. Just because they choose something doesn't mean it's what they need. We are the experts. So a lot of the time, if we make decisions based on our knowledge of the task, the upcoming tasks, the language, and our students' performance, I think we're benefiting them a little bit more. I mean, you may disagree with me on any of these. If you want to come and debate it with me, find me at the reception. But if you're walking up on me to disagree, please bring 2 drinks with you. Christopher, what if they abuse the freedom that I give them? No problem. Whether they're 6, 16 or 60, we just take a little bit of that away. So freedom's granted in the class. It's like a concertina. So we allow them to do more and more and more until they can't handle any more. Then we just pull that in a little bit. It's like, I want to give that back to you, that privilege. When you're ready, we can do it again. And the big one, what if they refuse to do something? Three answers here. The first answer is, I think, give them a little bit of space. Say to them, hey, I know you don't want to do that, but I've asked you, but I can tell you don't want to do it. I'm going to back off. I'm going to give you a little bit of space. There is the space. I trust you to make the right decision. That's the first answer. Second answer is to remember the power of the question, are you sure? Are you sure that's your final decision? Are you sure that here, now, this, which is only an English class, are you sure this is where you want another problem in your life? Are you sure that what I've asked you to do is so unreasonable? And then leave it to ferment with them a little bit. And then the last one is to have your what-ifs all in a row. What if the student escalates it? What if they don't do that? What if they do this thing next? What if they do the next thing? So to know who you're going to go to and what your procedure is going to be at every level of escalation. Look, if Hondo and the LAPD SWAT have to do these drill exercises, then it's good for us as well. But our escalations are mental. Okay, over to you guys for a couple of minutes. The chicken's going to appear quite quickly, so maybe get your comments in quickly as well. over the years, I've built up quite a reputation for doing mad stuff in the classroom. And I think I've never really got in trouble for it, but I probably dragged my fair share of new teachers into deep water. Now that you know about how I feel about the basics, maybe I can show you a medley of some of the slightly wackier stuff I've done in classes, some of the freedoms I've granted. Again, I'm not saying that they're good for everybody, and whether we grant something or allow a freedom on one day or month, course, year, may differ from what we do on the next. Anyway, I've let students see their report cards a month before reports were out, so that they could decide if they wanted to change any unpleasant comments like these. Tommy really did want to change them. His proverbial eggs rose to his throat. He looked at me with a white face and he could barely speak. Do you want to help me change those, Tom? And we did. I've dictated to other students their report card comments, and they typed them in so that the comments went through them, and I asked them if they wanted to add anything as well. In that way, allowing them to be co-authors of the classroom narrative that described their progress. When students have been doing okay on a task, and even when they haven't, sometimes I've let them use the space beyond the classroom. The blue chairs, the grey chairs, and the black chairs. Sometimes when they haven't been getting on okay, I've let them use the space outside the classroom. I've let students eat. These were purple sweet potatoes from Oviedo when I was visiting my friends from Appy over here. Obviously, again, supported with a script. These were sugared eggs from the same place. There they are. And you can see the script in the background there. This was a script for pickled watermelon, and that was the pickled watermelon. I really wasn't very keen on that. In fact, I had one student, Albert, he was trying to eat it, and the watermelon was wobbling like jelly, and you could see his arm had stopped listening to his brain, because he was trying to put the thing in his mouth, and the hand was shaking like that, and it wouldn't go. And I thought, something's going to explode at some point. I said, leave it, mate, leave it. And this was chili sauce, and they were deciding how many drops they wanted their partner to put of chili sauce on their crisp. More recently, I've been cooking up spam in classrooms, again with our Portuguese friends, so that my older students could taste where the expression spam mail comes from via the 1970s Monty Python sketch about a cafe that only sold spam. That's really where it came from. I've let younger students choose, handle, and take home small denomination coins and notes. We've got 5p's there. Here we've got Ukrainian hryvnia. And I've done the same with Russian rubles and Mexican pesos as well. I've let teenage learners mock examine each other, evaluate each other, and feedback with love, obviously. These were CAE students. I've let little kids do their work in boxes. I've let them do their work in tents. but again with structure. Siempre con método. There's a system of rotation. I've let 6-year-olds mark their own tests. I've let them try to do their worksheets with their hands sellotaped up because they'd seen the crab challenge on YouTube and wanted to try it. I've let teenagers create their own cheat sheet, their own chuleta, make it waterproof, and then test it to see if it was indeed waterproof. Thank you to Raquel Gorosito Villalobos for that one. I've let teenagers teach each other, again though, with structure. That is a teenage-created worksheet, apart from the photocopied bit, which I'm sure probably breaks some sort of rule. I've let teenage students teach upper primary students, which I can say they did with a lot of sensitivity and care. I've let students go under blankets when they were cold. I've let students sit in the middle of the room and be the centre of attention for most of a lesson while they were surveyed and asked about something that they'd done, a trip or an exchange programme. I've let older students dig into the internet, find out how to wire up a UK plug, and then create a how-to video about it. Although I have to say, at this point, I think this camera and narrator had stopped. They deviated from the task, and if I remember rightly, they were dancing to George Michael's Careless Whisper. Again, I've let older students practice on medical suturing kits, researching how to do various stitching patterns, and then creating their own how-to videos. I've let tired students sleep. I've let giggling students giggle. I've let bored students tell me how they feel. And I've let teenage students create their own song lists, but provided them with a wealth of input language explaining why we might like a song. Did they disappoint me? Most of the time, no. People like being free, eh? Would you like to tell your reactions to the person next to you to a couple of these? Ready, steady, go. Chicken of Love says thank you very much. I've got two analogies and a thing to say. The first analogy, when I was a teenager, 16, 17, 18, like many of you, I imagine, I was something of an animal. And we lived in a rural bungalow, and there was some brick outsheds. This was in the UK. So my parents had a wonderful idea of converting one of the outsheds and turning it into a bedroom for me. So my room was outside of the main house. You can see that's the outside of it, and that's the inside of it. That meant I could go to bed at any hour I wanted and play music as loud as I wanted. And actually, that was fabulous. You can imagine for a 17, 18, 19-year-old. But one consequence of that was that I started to watch this otherworldly program that was on at about 2 o'clock in the morning every night. And at first, I didn't know what it was, but I got thoroughly absorbed in it. And it turned out to be the 1988 adaptation of Chopra's Mahabharat. For anybody who doesn't know, it's a story of two families, the Pandavas, who are the more noble family, but they're not always right, and the Kauravas, who are kind of the less noble family, but again, they're not always wrong, and they're at battle, at odds with each other. And the place where this culminates is the battlefield of Kurukshetra. I even asked my parents to buy me the story. This is the one they bought me all those years ago, in a somewhat abridged form, I have to say. But more than this, that story is about tensions and the sort of noble and ignoble passions that battle over our bodies and psyches every day. Every character in that is in a state of turmoil. And the analogy I'd like to make is that within each of us, within each of you, there is a reactive and a progressive teacher. And in any moment of a classroom, you have the option to enable or block, to allow or restrict. And the reactive teacher in you will not always be wrong. The progressive teacher in you won't always be right. You're going to do both many times. But I think it is useful to be aware of that conflict going on, as the Mahabharata says, in the eternal churning of the universe. And also, if there's a battle going on in us, there's this big or bigger battle going on in our learners. I mean, they want to be there. They've decided to be there. On some level, they've all decided to be there. If they hadn't, they wouldn't be there. I promise you. But maybe learning English is not the first thing they'd want to be doing in that moment. Maybe even your keen students can think of 3 or 4 other things. Maybe your less keen students can think of 24 things, or 54, or 173 things they prefer to be doing. But they do know that learning English is going to benefit them. So I think they cede you the license to give them nudges, to give them reminders, to be insistent, to be pisau, as we say here in Seville. But we do have that license from them. It's a fragile but a beautiful license. One more analogy. There are places on the deep, deep seabed that are dark, devoid of light, oxygen, heat. And there are fish that live there, like this rat-tail fish, that have learnt to live where other fish would perish. They've got 8 kilometres of sea pressing down on them. The rat-tail is hypersensitive to vibrations going on around it, even though it can't see much because there's no light. The loose-jaw stoplight fish actually has red bioluminescence coming out from beneath its eyes. It's like it's got a pair of red headlamps. And the deep-sea anglerfish has little tentacles with light on the end to attract prey, unless it was hand-stitched by my friend Rachel in Lancashire. The thing is, these fish have learnt to live where other fish would not, by not moving very much and not moving very often. But we don't have to copy them. Our classrooms, they don't take place underwater. We're not stifled with light, air, space. Up until this point in humanity's trajectory, these things are still relatively accessible. So any restriction is by our combined collaboration. So I think the difference between bright coral reef-like environments and the murky seabed of ELT, it kind of lies in the culmination of all these little decisions that we make, but that we make for ourselves and we make for our students. People, thank you very much. You've been very patient. So you've got my email up there, slap bang in the centre. You've got the handout if you want to scan that in. You've got the latest book with a discount code if you get it through Pavilion. If you're going to use that, ask me about it. There's a Trinity book for Jessie, which I've co-authored with the wonderful Katie Kelly over there, which is just out in hard edition and digital. And then you've got my LinkedIn and Facebook there. TESOL-SPAIN, I salute you. Thank you very much, all of you. And it's a pleasure to speak here. Thanks for giving me the platform. Oh, just one more thing, one final thing. I did do some chilies this time. So if you find me in the reception and you want to try this, it's roast garlic, cayenne, and single malt whiskey. And I've got lots of little bottles of it, so come and find me and try some if you're interested. Yeah, with the toys. With the toys. Yeah, sure.